So how has this come about? I'd like us to go back now to 1968 in Paris, because I believe what happened there has great significance over what happened here in 1999 and what's still going on. Because there we saw the birth of the new left, or as I prefer to call it, the fake left, or if you're French, the faux left. Because on the one side you had Charles de Gaulle, the democratically elected leader of France, he was a conservative who stood for national sovereignty, who was a staunch critic of American imperialism in Vietnam. He was a critic of Israel at the time. And against him we had people supposedly of the left who were rioting and protesting against him. And it's interesting to see what happened there, because that was where the new left began. And among those Soissons-Hitards, the people who were protesting against de Gaulle, were people, of course, the leader of it was a man called Daniel Cohn-Bendit, who 30 years later, was at the forefront of the left humanitarians who were calling for the bombing of the evil Serbs here in 1999. Other leading members of this movement, Mr. Bernard-Henri Lévy, Bernard Kouchner, these people will need no introduction to people here. So France, I think, is very important. What happened was the new left. De Gaulle was a sovereigntist. He believed in national sovereignty. And for the imperialists, he had to go. He was a figure who was, again, attacked at this time. And this is where it all begins, because what's happened in Western Europe in the last 30 or 40 years, politically, has been very interesting, because the main parties of the left and the right have been hijacked. The parties of the left in France, in Britain, Germany, across Europe have been hijacked by the fake left and supporting this so-called doctrine of liberal interventionism or humanitarian interventionism. The British Labour Party is another good example. This process really became complete with the years of Tony Blair and New Labour. Tony Blair, the unindicted war criminal who still walks free, making millions of pounds in deals with countries that benefited from his policies. And of course, Tony Blair played a very important role in the bombing of Yugoslavia in 1999, and of course Iraq and Afghanistan too. And on the parties of the right, there has been a capture by neoconservatives, the British Conservative Party again. So the old right sovereigntists, people like de Gaulle, they have been, the forces in those parties have been destroyed. And across Europe, socialist parties from Belgrade to London have been captured to accept the new globalist, the rule of finance capital, and the fake left, which says, look at me, I'm a progressive, I support same-sex marriages, but I want to bomb Yugoslavia, I want to bomb in the name of liberal humanitarianism.